I'm live once again on this streaming platform because there are important conversations that people need to have. And one of them is on suicidal behavior. Now, suicidal behavior is a leading cause of uh, injury and death worldwide. It comprises of ideation or thoughts of engaging in behavior intended to end one's life. And some people actually make plans for this. It's not, I'm talking about formulating specific methods towards this, engaging in self-injurious behavior with some kind of intent to leave this world. Now, when you consider the fact that the numbers, according to the World Health Organization, WHO, says 75.5% of suicides in the world occur in low and middle income countries. Yet they've contributed only 8% of the information about suicide. There's a lot of paucity when it comes to information amongst this particular number, especially but not limited to Africa. Now, there is a suicide rate of apparently 12 over 100,000. 12, that's, I'll get the correction if Fola comes in. 12 in 100,000, which is higher than the world rate of 10.5 over 100,000 population. So the WHO has called for action on reducing sociocultural stigmatization of suicidal behavior, decriminalisation of suicidal behavior, and standardisation of deaths by suicide through compulsory registration of deaths amongst their population. Now, amongst African countries, the rate of suicide in Nigeria, sadly, is 17.3 over 100,000. And that is the highest. So there are news stories, there are newsmakers, but this should not, in my opinion, be making the news. This should be a call to action. I'm going to invite Mr. Fola Daniels Adelesi to have this conversation with us. Welcome, Bas. How you doing?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm doing well.
So I got these numbers and I was in shock, and I actually just wanted to assume or hope that I was getting these numbers wrong. Am I getting these numbers wrong?
I actually think that that's even a conservative estimate that you got. It's actually worse. Don't forget that we're a country that doesn't actually have verifiable real-time statistics. Most times, the statistics that we even get are not locally generated statistics. So that tells you that most of our figures are based on what maybe a foreign researcher came in to say to us, what someone said or what someone believes to be true. That's the situation. Our statistics are actually terrible in that regard. So if you think that what you have read is terrible, the truth really is it could be a lot worse than that. There are so many people who are contemplating suicide even as we speak right now, and nobody knows about it. They are not talking about it. They may show some signs that people around them may not have picked because they are not experts, and they may not even show any sign. There are so many people who seem happy. There are too many people who look happy, but deep down within them, they're not happy. They're not anything close to happy. So we assume that they're happy. And if you look at that, that's enough reason to understand that whatever figure we're seeing on the internet right now, which will not be adequate, is nothing close to the real state of suicide or the number of people who are attempting suicide every day in Nigeria, or maybe the number of people who are contemplating suicide. I think it's very important to bear that in mind. And I do hope that sometimes very soon we get to that point where we have adequate figures, we have adequate resources to be able to track these kind of figures real time. And we'll be able to say, okay, today I think that this is the number of people who are contemplating suicide, or this is the number of people who have thought about suicide or have carried out suicidal thoughts. But I think the figures are really bad and worse than what we can ever come up with today.
Mm. Now, it feels like media coverage of suicides well, in Nigeria, is just descriptive, and it sort of deviates from the recommended best practice. Um, Verifiable information, you've talked about this already. Not really many verifiable numbers, which might be the reason why media agencies, media outlets would rather just avoid the topic, because they would rather not get the truth or the reality of these numbers incorrect. Um, Now, why do you think it is so prevalent in Nigeria? What do you know to be the particular age group where it is most prevalent? And where do we go from here?
Okay, so I thank you for this question. Let me quickly address the media part of it, and then I'll come to why people get into it. The first and the most important thing that we need to understand from the angle of the media, there are two sides to it from the angle of the media. First of all, the media is thinking about what is going to engage a lot of people. If a media organization decides to talk a lot about suicide, I think that quite a number of media owners do not think that it's a newsworthy item within Africa, within our environment. Just as most of us naturally do not talk about suicide, you barely hear people around you talking about it. So it's a topic that is very crucial, but we barely talk about it. And because we barely talk about it, most of us don't even want to hear other people really dissecting an issue like that. So that's the same approach that the media has taken towards the same issue. Then the other thing is, how many people are going to sit behind the television or sit in front of a television and listen to another person talk about suicide? Maybe our disposition to it is gradually changing, but most television stations, most radio stations will not want to spend too much time to talk about it. And if they were to talk about it, they would not have the right data, the right statistics to talk about it as well. Then the other thing is, I fear that the National Broadcasting Commission, which is NBC, the regulatory body, may have some limitations on issues like these, because they fear that you're going to, there are regulations around not imposing fear or not instilling fear into the hearts of the people. So if we have issues like that, then that may be a constraint on the part of the media. So that's one thing. Media is going to look at the business side of it. How many people want to sit and listen to them? And then how profitable is it to talk about? Most times for those of us who are content creators, we think about what we should talk about. But the media owner thinks about, how does this put money into their account? How do we pay salaries from this? So if you now talk about why people get into it, I think there are four major things I want to first of all talk about as to why people contemplate suicide. Number one, it is about self-worth. If people do not see themselves as valuable people, if people do not think that they are valuable, they are important, and they are respected, then it is possible for them to contemplate suicide. If they don't think that somebody out there needs them, they are respected in the society, self-worth is one reason people are going to contemplate suicide. Then if you think about it, the next thing would be depression. There are people who gradually slip into depression, and we'll mention some of the other reasons why people slip into depression. There's self-worth issue, there's depression issue, then there's also shame. Sometimes people are faced with shame, and then they ask themselves, how do I even confront this kind of shame? How do I face this issue? In the Yoruba speaking part of Nigeria, there's a statement that it's easier to die than to face shame. And the way they say it is "Ikuyajo esinlo," meaning that it's a quick one. The quick way out is to die than to face this kind of shame. So because of shame, some people, think of a situation where maybe a married woman is caught cheating, or a married man is caught cheating, or let's even make it worse, like a married pastor is caught cheating, and people are going to expose you. It's
Mm,
possible that that kind of person contemplates suicide. So when they think about their position, they don't even want to imagine how bad it's going to be for them. And after shame,
mm,
the fourth one is what you call end of the road. If someone gets into
mm,
trouble, for example, and does not see a way out, they think that suicide is the only way out. Think about maybe having an investment of, say, 200 million, something you've worked for years, something you saved up, or even if you inherited it, and all of a sudden you lose it at once, maybe in stock market crash. Some people believe that they've come to the
mm,
end of the road. There are some people, for them, end of the road would be maybe a husband leaving them with 2, 3 children. Some other people, it could even be as simple as a boyfriend leaving them. It's as important as that for them. So they think, oh, what would I do without this person? I've come to the end of it all. I can't make it. I can't survive without this person. So if somebody thinks that he or she has come to the end of the road, it's possible that that person will contemplate suicide. So 4 things I've said. Number 1 is self-worth. If your self-esteem is not intact, or if the person's self-esteem is not intact, the person will contemplate suicide. The second thing is depression. Most people are naturally depressed and they don't even know. The business is not going well. They don't have a job. They're growing old. Someone is almost 40. There's no spouse, maybe a wife or a husband, or they've been married for 10, 15 years. They don't have children and stuff like that. So there's so many reasons why depression can set in. It can be money issues. It can be relationship issues. It can be unaccomplished goals and stuff like that. There's that. Then there's also shame as a result of an action. We've seen CEOs. I don't know if you remember the issue of Jeffrey Epstein in the United States. You recall that within a few days, or was it a few weeks in prison, it was said that the guy died. How did he die? I think that he was connected to the shame he was bound to face. It was a big scandal that even involved the royal family. So there's that shame, and then there's the end of the road when people think, oh, there's no way out. I've come to the end of it all. Let me just end it here. So those are the
Where
reasons
did
I think.
this begin? And I say begin because it does feel like there was a rise in it at a particular point. I
Yeah,
don't remember the exact year when we just started hearing about the rate of suicide climbing, especially in this particular climate. The average Nigerian was often said to be
very happy.
extremely happy.
We at some point
We
we were
were
the
even
happiest country in the
defined.
world.
Yes, some thought we were the happiest country in the world, and then at some point we, if you pass through the Third Mainland Bridge regularly, you'll see some security officials there, and the assumption was, okay, they're there to secure people in traffic, but then there was someone that mentioned that it wasn't just because of the traffic. It was actually because of the rate of people just going to Third Mainland Bridge and jumping off. Now, this was like a wake up call for me. This this shouted big alarm bells at me. But it had to have started somewhere. When do
Yeah.
you
So
believe
there
it
are two
began?
things. Yeah, there are 2 things that I think we should consider as to why or when suicide rates crept into our society and it increased. First of all, I think it came along with the civilization, or not civilization in particular. The word I might be looking for would be the new trend that we started experiencing, social media and everything, and interracial interaction that we are having today. So as technology increased, there were quite a number of things that came with it. There were quite a number of things that we became aware of. We saw how people were handling their own issues. We were watching a lot of movies on Netflix. We're watching a lot of movies on all the cable networks, and all the other streaming platforms. And some of these things unconsciously are creeping into our minds. So I believe that one of the things that led to the increase was that, we started seeing more of it. We started hearing more of it on television, on radio, about people abroad killing themselves. And some of these people are also traveling down to Nigeria. They have relatives here. So it became a rampant thing because we were seeing it more often. That's the first thing I thought about. Then the second thing I thought about is the fact that, just think about when you and I were growing up. We used to have a lot of relatives around. Was that not true? We
True.
lived with people. We always had one relative or the other around us. The home was always a happy home. Let me tell you, at that time, or let me remind you, at that time, it wasn't that our parents were richer. It wasn't that they were better off. In fact, if you think about our parents in those days, many of them do not have the earning capacity that you and I have today. Just think about maybe some deals, some businesses. It could even be one transaction that you've done. There is a possibility that at the time we were growing up, our parents never even had that singular opportunity to earn that
Mm,
volume in a single transaction. Yet
mm,
we were happier in those days. I always had cousins around me growing up. But think about today. Those cousins you used to always have around you growing up, when was the last time you saw any of them?
Mm.
So
Very
as
true.
family grew up, we began to grow apart. As families grew up, we began to separate. As families grew up, one of the things that changed was that we weren't spending enough time together.
Mm. Mm.
There was that communal effort that we had.
Mm.
There was that
True.
communal, how do I put it now? We enjoyed the presence of our family members, either nuclear family or extended family. So there was hardly any time you were alone. There was hardly any time when you didn't have someone to share something with. There was
Okay,
someone
so
constantly with
can
you.
I come in? Can I come in here,
Yes, please.
especially with regards this issue of being alone, because um, it does sort of lean into this question. What is the most commonly reported suicidal behavior? What is the most commonly used method? And for people that you did mention, people being alone a lot, people that live alone a lot and maybe have noticed some certain symptoms or signs, what can we do to alleviate that?
The first symptom you would notice is the withdrawal symptom. If someone were to be
Okay.
spending a lot of time alone, you need to start checking on that person. So once you notice that there's someone in your group of friends, there's someone in your family, either consciously asking to be left alone or unconsciously withdrawing to be alone, please start checking on people like that. Once you notice that people are keeping quiet for too long, they're not talking, and this is not them naturally, they're spending so much time keeping quiet, then you need to try as much as possible to keep an eye on that person. What I don't think we have here in Nigeria yet is what you call the suicide watch list. In the US and maybe in the UK, they place people on suicide watch list. They have people watching them from time to time to be sure that they don't commit suicide. They have people around them. And if there is anything that can help them commit suicide, they also try to take such things away from their environment. So one major thing you would see if people are going to slip into depression or they are already in depression is that they are withdrawing a lot. And if they are withdrawing a lot, that's one red flag. The other thing is if somebody has just had a major disappointment, people, it's not everybody that can handle failure easily. There are not so many, as a motivational speaker, I try to encourage a lot of people, I try to inspire people, and the honest truth is that sometimes when I encourage people, I'm leaving my own worries, I'm leaving my own troubles aside to come out and encourage someone else because it's something I'm dealing with and I think I can help you go through it as I deal with mine. But here's the thing: anytime you notice anyone around you has just had a major disappointment, it's time to watch them and watch them consistently for a while to make sure that they get out of. For example, some people may lose a loved one and they may never get over it. They may tell you, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm getting better." They try to put up a face when people are around, but they're just lying. Especially if after the condolence visit they are left alone, people go away. What you notice is that they gradually their health begins to depreciate. And you may hear maybe after 1 month or 2 months, they are gone. I think that was the case with one of our Nigerian coaches. I think that was Stephen Keshi, who lost his wife. And before you knew it, a lot of people now
Wow.
came to say he never got over the loss of the loved one. So either the people are withdrawing a
Mm.
lot, or someone has just suffered a major setback. God forbid. I mean, take a look at
Mm.
maybe somebody losing their job. Somebody losing
Mm.
their job. For some people, it can be very, very bad, especially if the person has a family, has a wife, has
Mm.
children, and they are
Mm.
used to a standard of living, and they don't even know where they're
Mm.
going to get the next meal from somebody who is used to a standard of living. So those are the things that we should
Can
watch
I
out
can
for.
I can I sort of backtrack to the most common reported suicidal
Yeah,
behavior? Because
please.
you know, there are some indicators that push towards a particular sex and a particular age group.
Okay, please. Okay, for me, right now I'm not sure what, but I think it would be the middle-aged group, and the middle-aged group because they are the ones under a lot of pressure. That's for those who are. That's for the demography that is most likely to commit suicide. And if you look at the groupings now, if you have maybe 18 to 25, those you call them the youths, from maybe 25 to 45, or you want to look between 45 to 60, then you have the seniors from 60 and above. Most of the seniors do not have the kind of pressure that people between the age bracket of 25 to 45 would have. Then the younger ones, while they are also committing suicide, they also do not have the kind of pressure that people in the age bracket of, say, 25 to 45 are experiencing. So I would believe that most people that are affected will fall in that age bracket of 25 to 45. There's pressure from family, there's pressure of work, there's pressure to perform, there's pressure to succeed. And that's why reunions can be dangerous for some people. Reunion, I mean, class set reunion, old school reunion is dangerous for some people. If you can't handle it, please don't attend one. And when I say if you can't handle it, please don't attend one, I mean, if the success of other people naturally gets to you, and you judge your own success by the success or by the material possessions of other people, please, reunion is not for you. Because you go there and you come back depressed. You don't even know if your friend came with a borrowed car, and you automatically
Mm,
assume that your friend has
mm,
succeeded, or that they are living
mm,
large and stuff like that. So
mm.
you look at your friends, you then say, oh, we left secondary school together, we left the university together, look at how well they're doing, and look at my
Can
own
I
life. So in
can I
fact,
jump
in
here
some cases,
because
yeah.
one thing you've talked about is things like reunions, but it does feel like social media is a bit more of a an impactful. I don't want to use the word motivator
It
in this
is.
particular
It
case,
is. It is.
because in the end there are many different types of. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I lost you for a bit.
Okay, all right, fantastic. All right, so let me just on social media.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you can still hear me, but yes, social media has been said to be very, very influential towards people committing suicide and stuff like that. We see a lot of wealth. Can you hear me?
Yes, go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah, so social media has been said to be very influential to suicidal rates in any country of the world, because people are coming online. We've been trying as much as possible to remind a lot of people that people put their best foot forward on social media. People wear their best dresses on social media. Nobody talks about their failures, or people hardly do on social media. They mostly talk about their successes. Take, for example, on LinkedIn, you hear, I'm happy to announce that I have resumed a new role as so and so. And you have been looking for a job for the last 5 years or the last 10 years. And on daily basis, people are sharing about new jobs and stuff like that. Some even tell you it comes with a car, it comes with this, they tell you all the benefits. Some of those jobs are even global jobs where they're working remotely, earning in dollars, spending in naira. And then on Instagram, it's crazy. People are flashing their new cars, their new dresses, they have a new shoe, they are flaunting it, they have a new watch, they take a picture in such a position that you can see the new watch and all of that. So yes, there's no doubt social media is influential to some of these things, particularly if you know some of the people that are posting stuff online that you see on a daily basis. The likes of Hush Puppy haven't helped, and there are still many more people who are living a fake life online. Again, it's an opportunity, I think, to remind people that everything you see on social media is not true. There are so many people who are living a fake life, and you'll be shocked to see that you are a lot better than many of the people that you see online. You would think that they are doing better, but the truth is, if you were to be compared in reality, you are doing a lot better than many of the people that you see online. And I completely agree, it's influential towards suicide
Okay.
rates.
I need to quickly touch on this because I know you've done your research in depthly before we wrap up. What are the legal ramifications on possibly reported attempted suicide? And because we have heard of cases where people who attempted it and were maybe in quote
Prosecuted.
either rescued or stopped from doing so were eventually prosecuted. What
Okay,
is the
so
situation?
the thing is, the law does not permit you to kill anyone, and that anyone includes you. The law does not permit you to kill anyone. So if you were to attempt suicide, it is a crime you're committing, even though it's against yourself. However, I think that the government should move away from the legalistic approach. There are quite a number of issues that we have, and I think that the government only views a lot of those issues from the angle of the law. And that's why we're not even solving those problems in the first place. But here's the thing: if you attempt suicide, attempted suicide is the same as attempted murder. The only difference here is that the person you're trying to kill is yourself. So don't even think about it, because there are several other ways out apart from thinking suicide is a solution. Now, in a number of cases, the best solution is counseling, therapy for anybody who has attempted suicide, and to let them see there's a way out. If it's about self-worth, it's about somebody leaving them to help them and help them understand that, look, there's always a way out. You can live a better life. Things will change if you just wait a bit, or I think you're spending too much time alone. We can help you out. But the major thing is that from the angle of the law, anyone who attempts suicide can actually be prosecuted. So again, I'm appealing that the government needs
Yeah.
to change that approach and embrace counsel and therapy rather than
Mm.
just looking at it as an attempted murder.
I would like to give you the opportunity to give out your details for anyone who would like to reach out to you for counseling, or if there's anyone watching right now who knows of a family member that might be showing some symptoms, or you might just not be sure about what's going on with that person. People
Okay,
in the end might
I think
not
they
know
can just
what to.
use the name on the screen to check me out across
Okay,
social media platforms. It's the same
okay,
name as it is Fola Daniel Speaks or Fola Daniel
okay.
Adelesi across
Yeah,
all social media platforms. It's on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook.
okay,
It's the same name
okay.
across all platforms.
Okay. All right, then I have to say a big thank you to you for coming to talk to us on this particular issue today. I don't think the conversation is over. We would like to encourage you to chat with us. The chat lines, the comment section is open right now. Of course, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. And of course, this LinkedIn page will be having other live conversations as well. Mr. Fola Daniels will be doing what he can to answer some of your questions that might pop up in the comment section after this is published. Thank you so much once again,
My
Fola
pleasure.
Daniels.
Thank you.
All right, then. Now, conversations like this are few and far between, but they are conversations that need to happen. And hopefully, we are taking a step in the right direction to identify some of these challenges, identify some of these problems. And hopefully, this particular conversation has hit home with someone right now who might be going through something, who might not know that someone in their environment is going through something. If you'd like to reach out, my details are all right there in the bio of this particular page, whichever page you're watching us from or listening to us from. Just reach out to me, and I'm always willing to give at least 90 seconds to someone who would like to say something. All right, then. My name once again is Titi Oyinsan. So it's been a pleasure being right here on the interview one on one. Until next time, have a great day.